Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Way to get the old blood moving this afternoon. Man, today I am so thrilled because we are literally giving the people what they want. We've had some pretty darn amazing guests, but today's is quite special. If you're scrolling along and you're like, what on earth was that just happened? This is Bach Collegium San Diego. I'm the artistic director. And every Wednesday at 1 or 2 o'clock, we do these interviews with BCSD musicians, staff, and friends. And there'll be some special guests down the road. Prepare yourself for that. Put it on your calendar now, even if you don't know who's coming up. And so today, we are really excited to have Angela Young SMUCKER. Mezzo-soprano Angela Young SMUCKER is in Chicago. She does a million things, but 2 things that she does extremely well is, besides doing her mezzo-soprano-y things, she also does a fantastic and inspiring job leading Third Coast Baroque as their executive director. And as a matter of fact, it was checking out their interviews that they started a few weeks ago, I think a month or so ago now, that really inspired us to do something like that, to feature musicians and kind of keep things moving even when they're not. Yeah, so Angela, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually in Florida.
Oh, you're in Florida, okay.
Yeah, so I split my time in normal times between Central Florida, in DeLand, where it's the home of Stetson University. I split my time between here and Chicago. So normally I'm in Chicago at least 1 or 2 weeks a month. And then here in Florida or freelancing would have been with you all earlier this month for St. Matt. So
right. That now feels like so long ago that whole thing kind of, pretty much evaporated away. Yeah. But nevertheless, you may be also wondering this is BCSD after all. Why is Angela Young SMUCKER wearing a St. Louis Cardinal jersey? Why is Ruben Valenzuela wearing a Dodger jersey?
World Series.
Oh, World Series. I see. Well, one of the things, and we're going to get into some of the deep, dark history of BCSD in a minute, because Angela does go back that far, is that one of the things that I love about Angela is the fact that she loves baseball as much as I do. She is a staunch Cardinals fan. I am a Dodgers fan, and I say Dodgers because I don't go as far back as Brooklyn, but I do know my Brooklyn Dodger history. As a matter of fact, I have my Brooklyn Dodgers replica Jackie Robinson cap here today.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the World Series. That's been almost like 10 years ago, but we won't talk about that.
and for those of you who are like, okay, like the thing is this, what makes this so compelling is that the Dodgers and the Cardinals are probably 2 of the most iconic National League franchises in baseball history. Probably in the top 5 baseball teams of all time. That includes such teams as the Yankees and Red Sox. So anytime we talk baseball, we're not just talking about last week's team. We're talking about teams that go back to the last century, well into.
We go deep.
We go deep. We go deep. So you will hear some baseball references along the way, and I'll show you some more of my baseball trinkets that I brought in from the garage today to share. But let's talk about, let's go back in history. And I remember, this is my recollection of first hearing your name, is that I was, it would have been about 2007, somewhere along there. Mm-hmm. And I was plotting a performance. At that point, BCSD is quite young. We really don't know what we're doing, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know that we know now, but nevertheless,
Man, I know the feeling.
And I thought, you know what? I think I need something exciting to do. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the B minor mass here in San Diego. And Anne Marie Dice, my wife, then not my wife, but fiance at the time, said, I know just the person that you need to call. I know someone from the Bach Academy in Stuttgart who is such a fantastic singer and fantastic person. You need to reach out to her. And so I did, and the rest is history, as they say. Can you tell us about that time?
Oh, I will never forget that moment when we were in our, it was like the student dorms on campus in Übelingen, Germany. Yeah, I mean, this was before we actually moved on to the big city of Stuttgart.
Yeah.
But yes, Anne Marie was like, yeah, my boyfriend has this group and he's going to do B minor. I really think you should get in touch. And at that point I was like, yeah. So my first thought was like, yes, B minor mass, cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. Then my second thought was, oh my Jeebus. This is going to be my very first performance with a period orchestra, with a historically informed ensemble. I've never done a completely historically informed performance before. And I was like totally freaking out. Because this was the first time I was going to sing all the choruses and then sing all the alto solo stuff. And it was my first time singing that role. So I was like, okay, now I got to juggle these two things. I don't know what, am I supposed to, can I use vibrato? I don't know what to do. Yeah. So, but I just remember showing up and I was so blown away by how excellent everything was. Even at that point. And I remember coming into the chorus rehearsal and sitting in the midst of the alto section, which was mainly sort of the local bunch at that time. It was a completely different makeup of the chorus. So. And I was like, dang, like everybody sounded so good. And I think there were a lot of jokes that started in 2008 that are still going today. So for those of you who are on gigs with us, on behalf of Anne Marie and myself, I apologize. So.
Yeah, well, let me, one of those jokes, if I'm not mistaken, is that I think we were actually in the performance itself, and it came time for the second round of the Hosanna, and was it Vladimir? Under his breath says, "Play that same song again," like as Star Wars, and it has been the joke that has been going and going and going. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was really fortunate in that moment that I was not singing that second iteration of the Hosanna because the Agnus Dei was right after it, and I was like, y'all, I gotta gather my wits to do that last thing, so I'm gonna sit out.
Right.
But poor Anne Marie, I think she was dead in the water. Like,
well, I remember hearing, my recollection is I was far enough that I heard a little murmur, and I believe there was Vladimir was very next to that. There was like a little box.
We had a platform,
a little platform, and somewhere along when he stepped down and something, at that moment is when I heard the. I'm like, oh my God, did that just happen? And I thought, yep. There we are.
Amazing.
But you see, that time is also epic because, yes, I met you for the first time that weekend. Mm-hmm. But that also is, as a side note, that was also the first time that we did B minor Mass. Mm-hmm. That was our first. And Michael Sponseller also was new on that occasion.
Yes.
And that was, you did not know him yet, right?
No, that was when we first met as well.
Okay, yeah. And there are several folks, some of which are still singing today, that kind of, there was like a major cataclysmic coming together for that occasion. And here we are still doing and talking about this sort of thing. But I do remember that very well. And then from that point forward, man, there have been, I think not a season goes by when you have not come out here at least once, sometimes twice, to do a project with us. I remember the Mozart Requiem around 2011. I remember the wonderful pre-Bach Leipzig program that we did of Schein, Knupfer, and other et al. From that you had a major role in. Do you remember anything from that middle? Let's call that the middle period.
So You know, the other day in the good old Facebook memories, the Octeon and Jefta came up.
Oh yes, of course. Of course.
So good.
Of course.
And I apologize for anybody who heard me butcher that French as Juno, but you know, I did what I could.
No,
it was so good.
That was so good. That was a good time. And that was also, you know, sort of an interesting time because Michael Sponseller had just been appointed associate director, and so we were starting then to weave in some of his French suggestions, namely that program, and then subsequently some other things.
Well, and I see David Kurtenbach. Hi, first of all, he said that was his second gig with BCSD. And
my God.
David Kurtenbach, I see you.
I see. I'm shocked because, again, you know, memory is a weird thing. I feel like I've known David, like, even more in the past, like going back to before 2010, but probably not, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, David, it's great to have you. Did you do Theodora with us?
I didn't.
Okay.
And I'll forever hold that against you. No,
yeah. That was the time we tried to live dangerously, and we rented the Balboa Theater downtown.
That's right. I think I've seen clips or bits of it or something. It looks quite grand.
I mean, we barely survived that on a number of levels, but all I remember is that after the final note, I was carried out of the theater like Joe Namath after winning the Super Bowl.
Wait. No, but let me ask you this. Did you remember to eat before that show?
I did not. And
see, you bring all right.
Let's stories. Yeah.
I'm going to talk some truth to you out there. So just hang on for 1 second. Here's the secret about Ruben. He doesn't remember to eat when he should. And I don't know if you've gotten better lately or not, Ruben.
I have.
Okay, good. I feel like I should always be armed with like a Cliff Bar or something, or some granola or some Gorp for you. Before a show, because I'm like, y'all, his blood sugar is gonna drop, and then what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I do very strange things. I've learned my lesson over the years. Let me tell you, you just reminded me of two scary moments that I've had that pertain to that. One was you were singing in the St. John Passion in Los Angeles. It was around 2012, and this is gonna crack you up. So needless to say, I was worried about all these details, except eating. And it was about an hour before the show, and I realized I was going to, get dressed for the concert. And I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot my socks. I don't have black socks. I have misplaced them, or I left them back in San Diego. So I went down Adams Avenue near the cathedral, and I went into a CVS and I bought some black socks. Black socks. There we are. What I didn't know was that they were compression socks, and so you combine compression socks with no food. And I was doing quite well. In fact, I was remembering that, man, these socks are really team players. They're staying taut the whole time. We're well into the turbo choruses, and these socks are going nowhere. And then we get to SMUCKER, and I was like the one that was starting to like wave like a palm tree, and I'm thinking, I feel like a piece of bamboo, but I'm not going to break. And then we get to Root Vol, and I remember having to hold on to the harpsichord. It was in front of me, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's finally going to happen. I'm going to pass out.
No, dude. Yeah. All right. So I pulled a Ruben Valenzuela once during a Bach cantata. All right. I can't remember which cantata it was, but the alto aria was 10 minutes long. It was epic. Oh man, I got to remember that. Anyway, so it was part of a church cantata series in Chicago. And we did a touch-up rehearsal right before this Vesper service. And then the cantata came after the homily in the service. So we're about 2/3 of the way through this long service. Right. And the soloists are actually sitting out in like the first pew of the sanctuary. And so I have to get up and turn around and face the congregation to sing my aria. As soon as I stand up, I'm like, oh man, I forgot to eat lunch, and this is no good. So thank the Lord I had like this half wall behind me, the protection of the first pew kind of wall.
Yeah.
And so I leaned up on that thing for 10 minutes and somehow sang an aria.
I mean, it's the worst feeling because what's happening
awful.
there, physiologically, you've got adrenaline going off the charts typically, and then you've got blood sugar going like this direction, and it's
Marty, dang it,
Marty.
I bet you there for that one, Marty.
I bet you Marty's wearing a really cool tank top right about now, somewhere.
God, I hope so.
Anyway, the other food story isn't quite as dramatic, but it was that the second B minor mass we did. And I don't think you did that one with us, but you were there to listen.
Yes, because I was singing with Chicago's Music of the Baroque. We were doing Haydn Creation. I think it was La Jolla Music Society.
Correct.
Yeah. But I was like, oh my gosh, I want to catch you guys rehearsing. So we drove down the road and popped in during rehearsal. Sounded glorious.
Yeah. It was, again, didn't eat. I come out, everything was cruising along. And then when I get to right about the bass solo, Collegium, I thought, oh my God, I'm going down in flames. And then part one ends and I walked off and Michael goes, you did it again, didn't you? You didn't eat anything. Because my eyes were glazed over. And so now I carry walnuts. Walnuts are like some almonds, and frankly, the answer is water. I don't drink a lot of water, and that's part of it. Yeah. All
right. Well, here's the tip, folks. If you're ever at a BCSD concert during intermission or whatever, and you come across Ruben, bottle of water, a little granola bar, it'll go a long way.
Yeah.
But here we go. All right. So here's the last one. One about having food.
Yes.
Before the show. Let's take ourselves back to a Messiah.
Okay.
2 years ago. I recall our dear friend Katie just had a baby, beautiful baby.
Right.
And I remember we were all wearing different gowns for that show. And in the first half, I believe I sang "O Thou That Tellest" or something like that. And then in the second half, I was going to be singing "But Who May Abide" right at the top of the second half after that opening chorus. Well, several of us had walked down the street to get some dinner or a little bite. We went to the sushi place. I had one maki roll wrapped in, white rice maki roll. And I had a new gown. I was super happy it fit. We sang that first half. And we got off stage and I was dying because I couldn't breathe.
Oh God.
My God. My dress was not stretchy and it was literally suffocating me. And I remember going back into the choir room where we had all of our stuff and I was like, somebody please unzip me now so I can breathe. So that happened. And then Katie, who happened to have the exact same color gown, she's like, and hers was like stretchy and because she still was, had baby weight and all that stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, do you want to swap dresses? And I was like, okay. So at intermission, we switched gowns and I was like, I can breathe now. And I went out to sing the aria and I'll never forget that intro going up to my solo spot and hearing, she changed her dress. She changed her dress. I'm like, yes, I changed my dress because otherwise the next 20 minutes would be miserable for everybody.
These are the very things that folks want to hear because, everything looks so calm and put together 50 feet away.
Well, and Gary Payne takes these beautiful photos and we're looking all emotive and wonderful. And Gary, you're amazing and you make us look incredible. But the behind the scenes, man. It's
a thing. And before we switch gears here, because I do want to talk about your work with Third Coast Baroque.
Sure.
I want to take just a few seconds to showcase some of my glorious trinkets. I do collect some bobbleheads. This is my Don Newcomb Brooklyn Dodger bobblehead here, and this is a prized possession. This is from the 1960s. Somebody passed it along to me. LA Dodger bobblehead, and this is my I've had this cap for 25 years. And why is it important? Well, for two reasons. We are, to an extent, we're talking about historically informed performance. This is my historically made hat, made in the same manner as the caps were made in the 1930s and 40s.
Love
and it's
it.
a Jackie Robinson era hat, no bill, as you can see. And lastly is my Robin Roberts, then of Phillies lore, 1950s glove that I bought in Cooperstown. And so that completes, there's more in the garage, but I'm not.
Okay, look, if I knew we were doing show and tell, I would have gone to storage because I've got a Cabbage Patch Kid diaper signed by Andy Van Slyke, Tito Landrum, Al Roboski.
Okay, all right.
I mean, come on. I've got a baseball signed by Willie McGee.
Yeah. We're going to get back into baseball in a minute because I will just preface it by saying this is that I'm such a diehard baseball fan that over the years as a kid growing up, there have been seminal moments when I have been brought to tears, like my spirit has been broken. And one of the teams that has done that on 2 occasions has in fact been the Cardinals. And we'll get back to that in a minute.
Okay. So, now Stephanie Moore wants me to get my opera glasses to talk about. Okay, vamp. I'll be right back.
Okay. So one of the things that Angela Young-SMUCKER, and let's hope that she comes back in a few seconds because otherwise I'll have to really vamp. And I'm thinking about the vamp guy on Family Guy that's over there on the old timey piano right now. So I don't. Some of the she's in that special.
That'll have to be for another day.
Okay. She's in that
good eye
mold of persons who is both exceptional as a singer artist, but also the amazing work that she does with as executive director of Third Coast Baroque. It is so hard to straddle those two worlds of you are doing upper balcony administrative work, executive director work, and then you have to like literally put on the gown and do that part with you. That is a really tough thing to do. Can you tell us about that? How you got involved in some of whatever you want to say about Third Coast Baroque?
Okay. Yeah. So in a nutshell, my philosophy with Third Coast Baroque and anything that I've done with that is to start before I feel ready.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that is like, look, I need to know everything before I go in there and do whatever it is. Right. And with Third Coast Baroque, we're kind of flying a plane and building it at the same time.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And I'm sure Marty, if you're still out there, I'm sure he can attest to that. Like we kind of have to roll with things because so everybody needs to know that the artistic director of Third Coast Baroque is Ruben Dubrovsky. So I've got 2 Rubens, and we got to get you guys in the same room at some point. It's going to happen. Yeah. So you heard it here first, folks. It's going to happen. But I didn't plan on doing this. I didn't plan on going into arts administration. I didn't plan on being a co-founder. It just sort of happened organically, which I think a lot of the really great things do. And, along with my co-founders, we were like, okay, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can offer. And so far everything's been really well received. I will say as somebody who's straddling, the administrator performer thing. And I know, again, Marty and you too, like it's tough. I think, last year we did the Chicago premiere of Handel's first oratorio, Il Trionfo del Tempo e del Pagano. And we were fortunate to have on loan parts from Bach Collegium San Diego. So thank you very much for that. But, for me, it's hard to switch off the administrator mind. I remember in the beginning, we'd be in a rehearsal, like in our first season or something like that, and a musician would need a new score or whatever, and I'd get up to do something, And my Ruben would be like, no, you're a singer right now. Like, hey.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's taken some practice for myself.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is what we've been able to do is we've been able to sort of build that sort of backstage family, for lack of a better word, like we're preparing for an online event on Saturday. And, yesterday I had, phone calls with our incredible audio visual team. Like, I just it's incredible, the wonderful people who step up when you're doing something that people want and love and really enjoy being a part of. They get really excited about it. And I think that's one reason why BCSD has stayed around so long and has grown so much. If I just saw, I got something in the mail today from Early Music America. I think it was a magazine that had an article about a particular group in San Diego that has been doing so well, led by somebody.
It came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody, you all need to know that there's a wonderful article in the Early Music America magazine about this guy, and and what he's been doing in San Diego, and this gap in that you've been filling. So, but I think that's what we need to do. Anybody out there who is in a music ensemble, I'm going to just focus on like Baroque music and early music right now, but anybody who, whether it's a large organization or it's, something like a little micro group of a few people, you want to ask yourself, like, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to your community? Is there something that's been missing? And it's very clear that BCSD has brought something that wasn't necessarily easily accessible in San Diego.
Right. I love the description of we're flying as we're building it.
Totally.
I think I've been looking for that expression for years now, frankly, because that can be both exhilarating and absolutely daunting and exhausting all at the same time. And one of the things that I really admire about Third Coast Baroque, from somebody out here in San Diego, in California, and all that, man, you guys look from day one, everything looked incredibly polished, professional, performances, clips, audio, visual, publicity materials. And that is something that cannot be overlooked. As important as the actual musical product, which of course is first and foremost. That of course is the thing, but you can't forget the other stuff, because that too is important, and that's been something that is just wow. You guys are all polished.
Well, thank you. So, I mean, I owe a lot of that kind of polish and presentation to generous mentors. When Abby McKee, who I met through BCSD, whenever my co-founders and I just started talking about this, I was like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? In terms of making sure everything's set up right, and communication and blah, 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 all of that. So, I was really fortunate, Abby pointed me in the right direction. And through her and through resources that she provided, I founded other support and other resources and tools. And so, but Ruben, I mean, it's the same as BCSD. Like, even though it looked really polished that right out of the gate, let me tell you, in that first show, minutes before our first performance, we had two of our sopranos who were deathly ill. One of them was like almost beyond pregnant and coughing so much that she was starting to induce contractions. And so before that first show, the three of us, we're all one on a part. Before the show, we're like, okay, Angie, you take that line, and I'll hop here. And it was just, chaos. It was chaos.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is that you're talking about the B minor mass, right?
No, I'm talking about for Third Coast Baroque.
Oh, Third Coast Baroque. Okay.
So for our very first concert, we had 6 singers, 2 sopranos, and both of them were. Oh, hi, Mom. I see you there. Hi.
Awesome. I'm glad you brought up Abby McKee, because you know, I can't stress enough, and, you know, I don't know, she's probably not watching, but I'm going to make sure this gets to her, is that when Abby McKee came on board and was our executive director at BCSD, for really what amounts to a relatively small amount of time, that was a crucial amount of time, let me tell you, because she essentially took BCSD, which was essentially in a shoebox under my bed, and she said, okay, you need to hand it over now. And you need to, we need to, like, you know, assign some roles and some tasks and all that sort of thing. And I was like, oh, it's a scary thing.
Ruben, you don't have to be working on the program anymore.
Right. And my God, I used to slave away on that, but it's nice not to do that anymore. Let me tell you.
Right. But
yeah, Abby McKee, her role as an artistic advisor for not just Third Coast Baroque, obviously her work now with PBO, and obviously BCSD. But this thing about, you know, doing arts administration and doing music, I think it's a certain person that's wired a certain way. There's no question that you have to be wired a certain way. And I remember being a kid, you know, 8 or 9, and one of my favorite shows as a child was the Gong Show from the 70s. Remember the Gong Show? These musical acts on?
Dude, that's my nightmare.
Yeah, and this goonball would come up, and if the act didn't, you know, live up to the standard of the panel, he'd go up and play. So I would put on gong shows at home, you know, basically the Gong Show. And I just love this idea of assembling an audience and assembling an event and seeing it to the end and applause, and here we are next. And I think it's a certain person that's wired a certain way that sort of makes you want to take on these crazy tasks and crazy responsibilities, because it is a big responsibility once you've got everybody staring at you. But
what a privilege. I mean, what a privilege. I'm thinking about, like, you know, last night I was, you know, eyeballs deep in a spreadsheet for our event on Saturday, trying to put the people in the music where it needs to go, and thinking about, okay, well, how are we going to talk about this, and how are we going to make, well, like, this is what I was talking about last night with my AV team. Like, how can we make sure that what we share is like the absolute best quality to showcase these artists who are so incredible? Like, we want to make sure that people understand the absolute beauty and skill and artistry that all of these people are bringing, and show them in their best light. So, you want to go there? All right.
It's time to put on the hat.
We're going number 2. All right.
Here we go. All right. Plus, I haven't had a haircut since early March.
Babe,
so I got to get it
November.
Oh, okay. Well, David Kurtenbach pointed out that the hair looks on point thanks humidity.
Yeah. Gotta love flowers.
Look at that shot. Beautiful hats. Look at that. Couple of other things that are that I absolutely find interesting about the SMUCKER. That's how I know you. Is that I'm a big, I may be Peanut's biggest fan. Peanut is your dog.
Yes.
And I only met Peanut on one occasion, when I was visiting in Chicago, visiting you there for something. And I remember, because when you post pictures of your beautiful dog, you know, he looks bigger than life on the picture. And I thought, okay, Peanut, whatever. It didn't occur to me that the name was because of the size. And I remember walking in the door and thinking, oh my gosh.
That name has a dual function.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yes, he is a little peanut because he's 18 pounds, but he puts off this like 60-pound aura.
Yes. Yes.
But his full name is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup SMUCKER.
Gotcha.
Because that is our favorite treat. I don't know what category it falls into. Is it a weird kind of candy bar? Is it a candy? I don't know. We don't have to go there. But Peanut, he's gotten a little more white around the muzzle. So
there was a picture.
Find that picture. I'll post it in the comments later so everybody can take it.
There was one picture you posted. You guys were on a road trip, you and Pete, and Peanut was in the middle console, and he looked just poised and ready.
He's like the navigator.
Oh, yeah, and grizzled, veteran vibe about him.
I am thoroughly convinced he is an old man reincarnated into a dog. He's got that Clint Eastwood, like, get off my lawn kind of thing going on. So I don't know. And then I do have to point out, speaking of names, the name of SMUCKER, that is absolutely credited to the one and only Vladimir.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Vladimir, God bless
The
him.
origin of all things.
God bless Vladimir, wherever he is. I think I last heard he's in Germany somewhere still. Yeah. Okay, I got to connect with that guy again because he's also owed the joke of the Urtext joke of certain singer that we won't go into today,
okay.
and it's a Chacon joke that also coming back. Now,
but it is a Chacon.
Yeah, now it is a Chacon. And here's another thing that is fascinating about you is your fascination with roller derby. Tell us about roller derby and how you came to find that activity. My God.
Okay, so first of all, if any of my Thunder City Derby sirens watch this, please know that I have the highest respect for you. Also, the Windy City Rollers in Chicago, the highest respect for you. I am like not even enough to be a newbie in roller derby. So a few years ago when I was in Chicago, I went over to a friend's house for a barbecue. Yeah. And we were talking about how I really like the Windy City Rollers in Chicago, and my husband and I would go to their bouts, and it was just super fun. It was so fun, and it was very much like this family experience. Like everybody knew each other and really supportive, and like, yeah, I'm gonna bash the crud out of you, but good game. And yeah. Anyway, so my friend who was hosting this barbecue was like, "Oh yeah, well, one of the players is right over there," and she was like one of my favorite players. Her name is Bork. Yes. And I was totally starstruck. So I met her. Right. Molly Fannin, if you're out there, you're still amazing. Totally love you. So we met, and she said that the roller derby team was doing this learn to skate clinic, like 3 weekends in July. And I thought, you know what? That sounds kind of fun. I mean, I used to roller skate when I was a kid, like down in our unfinished cement basement. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go try it out. There's no contact. Like you're just learning basic foot skills and all of that stuff. And so I did that. And at the end of the 3 weekends, they said, well, next weekend are tryouts for the training teams. They basically have a farm team system like baseball. Okay. Right. And they're like, everybody can try out. And I was like, well, thanks a lot. You know, this has been fun, but you know, I'll be on my way. And so I don't remember who it was, but somebody pulled me aside. Was like, you should really try out. And I thought, okay, I was like, I'll try out. That'll be fine. Da, da, da. So I made it onto the first training team, the Haymarket Rioters. Yeah. And it's an official competitive organization. And so you have to come up with a name and a number. So I did some crowdsourcing on Facebook and came up with the name Baroque and Bones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
perfect.
And my number was 169. Cantata 169. Gott soll allein mein Herz haben.
Yes. Yes.
One of the best alto cantatas in the world. Has Reggie done that with you guys?
No, he is not. No. I've only done excerpts from there. Yeah, and that alto aria, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. So good. So that was how I got started. And I did try to do the training team, but I was traveling a lot. I missed the first month of practice, and then I came back and they were doing mock tryouts to move up in the system. And I kind of kept my own about halfway through the mock tryout. And then it came to jumps. Wasn't ready for that. And I fell flat on my back and, got whiplash. And I was like, I'm going to take a break. But then I moved down to Florida and I saw there was a local team. We went to some of their bouts. And I turned 40 last year. And for my 40th birthday, we went to the roller rink. And had a party at the roller rink. And I contacted the local derby girls and I was like, hey, would you guys come and skate with us? And they're like, well, we're going to be there anyway, so we'll hang out with you guys. And I met some of the women on the team and was talking about like not joining the team, but I was just like, I just kind of want to practice with you guys and skate around a bit. And they're like, well, we're going to have, the recruiting thing in the fall. And so I did it and I made it through their 12 weeks of fresh meat training. And so I am, that's a long story long, but sort of trying to learn how to become a derby referee because I am old and out of shape to be getting, hip checked.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When you first, I think it's been a few years now, right? When you first started doing the roller derby thing, 2-3 years? Okay. When you first, I think you posted something about it, I thought, oh my gosh, like I thought, wait a minute. I thought roller derby was a thing of like the 70s. I didn't even know.
That was the bank track.
Oh,
you saw on TV, like on Sunday afternoon, there's a bank track.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yeah. And there was actually an episode, or maybe a couple of episodes of the Charlie's Angels from the 80s that featured, Charlie's Angels doing roller derby. There was some bad person. They were chasing the bad villain on the track or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So when we posted, I thought, oh my God, roller derby is still a thing. Now, did you never forget how to roller skate?
Never forgot.
Wow.
I mean, it took a second to sort of, my body's a little different from when I was 10, but, but after a while, I love it. I love it.
Dan Cromines, who's watching, says, hip checked. That's
HIPP checked.
Yeah. Well, God bless you. That is, well, first of all, fun fact, I don't know. I never learned how to roller skate. Skateboard, yes. Roller skate, no. And the thought of remote thought of even trying to fathom what roller derby must feel like and the exhilaration of that. Somebody's trying to knock you down, for heaven's sakes. I mean, what's the fun in that?
Yeah, it's quite an experience when that happens. And the first couple times it happened to me, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But there are other parts of it. I mean, it's really interesting. The dynamic of women's roller derby. Like I said, even though they're out there on the track, whether it's a bank track or a flat track, like they're just like clobbering each other and just scratching and scraping to get those points to it. But like, it's a really supportive community. It's really cool.
Cool deal. Another fun fact about Angela Young SMUCKER that I was shocked to find out that this many years went by, and I did not know this, that she had at one point taken organ lessons and even went as far as having those special organ shoes for her organ study. And was that in high school or college or high school?
High school. Yeah, when I was in high school, I remember I wrote my senior term paper on the King of Instruments. David Kurtenbach, yes. Just Google it. And we'll talk later. We'll explain all the derby stuff. It's fun. But yeah, I took organ lessons for a couple of years in college. I had a pair of organ masters, which to this day, Dad, I know you're really sad that I sold them. I'm sorry. They needed a good home. So I did take lessons. I was an organist at a local Lutheran church.
Of course, Lutheran.
Yep. I mean, got to do it.
God bless the Lutherans. Yeah.
Right. But eventually, I retired from organ playing because I had, again, too much respect for the instrument to continue to harm it in the way that I did in my playing.
Well, I mean, the fact that you had organ shoes tells us that there was a certain level of seriousness you were bringing to the craft.
Well, you got to be thoughtful. I do have to say, I did have some summers where I took lessons with the esteemed Martin Jean.
Oh my God.
And he said some of the most brilliant things. I'll never forget one of them being, we were trying to work on improvisation on the organ. And I'll never forget what he said. We stopped for a second and he turns to me and says, pretend you're not Lutheran for a minute and just try this. And I'm like, bingo. Yep. Let's just let the hair down. We'll just do it. We're going to unbuckle those shoes, those organ masters, just let it fly.
Yeah. And these shoes, are they still somewhere put away in a closet?
No, I literally sold them.
Oh, you sold them. Okay.
I absolutely did.
Okay. So that was the end of your organ career. at that
But
point.
yes, but I will, I also thank my my home church when I was growing up in Southern Illinois. St. John Lutheran Church of Chester, Illinois, gave me keys to the church so I could practice. And I remember like 9 o'clock at night, ain't nobody around. We're hitting that tootie button.
Yeah, you are.
Going to town, just open it all up.
Open it all up. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that'll get you hooked on the instrument early on. It's like, see how much sound it can make. Which brings me back, actually. Now I'm going to circle back to a little bit of baseball talk, because I know that's what the people want. No doubt, that's what the people want.
No doubt. Okay.
And so I'm going back to I believe it was 1995, 85. Oh my God, 85.
85.
85. 95 seems like a lifetime ago, let alone 85.
And 85. See, that's the generation of Whitey Herzog.
Right. And I was hopeful that, the Dodgers were playing the Cardinals in the playoffs, and I was hopeful they'd get through them and get on to the, bigger and better things. And there's that very, very famous moment in Dodger. It's a low light. Probably it's a highlight for you. It's Jack Clark. Jack Clark comes up to bat, and Tom Niedenfuer is on the mound. And he essentially is like a human gas can at that point. He essentially is a gas can. And everybody in the stadium, including myself, a kid at that point, says, what you need to do right now is you need to intentionally walk Jack Clark.
Oh.
You do want to pitch to Jack Clark. And the camera goes over, and I think Bob Costas was calling that game. The camera goes over to the dugout, and Tom Lasorda's sitting there, and he says, bleep, 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 bleep. I'm not going to walk that bleep, bleep, bleep. I'm going to pitch to him.
Now, first of all, Jack Clark was one of my mom's favorite players.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And Mom, I'm going to embarrass you for just a second. But I love you. I remember, I can't remember how old I was, but I remember going to a Cardinals game, and Jack was still playing. And I think I had a baseball card of his, and he might have been there like playing with the Pirates at that point. I don't know if he'd already been traded or whatever, but I just remember me and Mom going up, getting the autograph, and I hear her say, I still like you.
Oh my God. And
Mom, I love you. I really do. But I remember like getting those autographs, man.
And for me, Jack Clark was, he was like essentially the embodiment of Satan, because he not only was a Cardinal, but he then went on to, or before was a Giant, and he was a Dodger killer then.
Yes.
And so I believe it was like the first or second pitch of that at bat. And of course, there goes this home run, and I'll never forget it. Pedro Guerrero, then left fielder for the Dodgers, who's a full-grown man and major leaguer at that, looks up at he doesn't even move. He just looks over his shoulder, the ball goes into the left field stands, and he takes his glove and he throws it down like a little leaguer does, like, when they're 10. And I thought, oh my God, this is epic. Like, this is a meltdown of epic proportions. I then started to cry. I started to cry. I was like 12, and I cared deeply. And then a few days later, Ozzie Smith hits another freaking home run off of the same gas can Niedenfuer, who, if you go onto his Wikipedia to this day, you will see a whole little section on that series of Ozzie Smith, Jack Clark. Because he lit up. He got lit up.
Yeah. Well, 85, man, that's an incredible year just all around. There's a lot of good things.
I believe you lost to the Royals in the World Series. I think that's what happened. That's when we lost to the Royals. Yeah. And to close the loop on baseball, you're probably the only person that I know that if I said at any point in the year, I bet, all right, let's sit down and like watch the old Ken Burns baseball series. Usually when I say that, people were like, oh. What? Yeah.
I'm looking at you. And actually, Michael Sponseller, I'm looking at you.
And that's one of the other things that, aside from that closing aria of the Triunfo, that very closing aria, the other thing that will make me cry in 1 second is the beginning of the Ken Burns, like the opening sequence. I will begin to weep as a child. That darn
talk
quick.
About our afternoon perambulations,
yeah, exactly.
Come on. Yeah, man, see, that's tradition in our house. That is how we start the baseball season. We lived in the great white north of Minnesota. I know we need to wrap up, but when we lived in the great white north of Minnesota, we were in the doldrums of winter up there. We were living in a wonderful like garden apartment in a basement. And so our bedroom window was this egress, and all the snow would just pile up in the window, and it was just days and days of gray and nothing. And so in the middle of January, my birthday's in the middle of January, and we thought, okay, after my birthday, let's start the Ken Burns documentary. And so every year, the day after my birthday, we restart that documentary series again, and then add in some other baseball movies. And then that takes us to spring training. And then you usually can start listening to it on the radio or MLB TV. And yes, John Watt, Ken Burns, man, the extra innings. If y'all haven't watched the extra innings of that documentary, go watch it now. It's
and we are, and to stay along that baseball theme, we are in fact in extra innings this very moment, and that's okay. That is okay.
All right.
That is perfectly okay. Let's see. We talked about the baseball thing. So I think my last point about baseball, we did Ken Burns, is that because of the way this darn camera is situated, I do have to show my jersey in all its glory. It is it is my favorite player of all time. In fact, one of my favorite humans of all time is Jackie Robinson. He's a legend and one of my, I can use the word hero. The reason I love Jackie Robinson is because I grew up in Pasadena, and Jackie Robinson at one point lived in Pasadena as a kid. And of course, there were many parks that were called Jackie Robinson Park. And he went to UCLA. And as I was growing up watching and learning about baseball, I thought, oh my God, this guy, and he played on the Dodgers and all that stuff. So I love Jackie Robinson. So to close, bringing up to the present day.
But wait, there's more about Jackie Robinson. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
So when we moved to Florida from Chicago, we're about 40 minutes from Daytona. And there is a minor league baseball team there playing in Jackie Robinson Park. That is where he started with the Dodger. After he came down from Canada, that's started training. And so it's Jackie Robinson. I mean, there's some corporate name that goes with it as well, but now hosts the Daytona Tortugas, which is a high single A team for the Cincinnati Reds, my husband's team.
And all I will say is that they're probably as good as the major league team, the Reds, right about now, I would imagine.
Don't tell me.
Jackie Robinson. So I'm so enamored with all things Dodgers that every few years when I'm in New York, once or twice a year, sometimes I make it a point to go. As you well know, I go out to Brooklyn and I have to do my whole tour of what used to be Ebbets Field and Jackie Robinson and blah blah blah. But so to the present day, and we'll close with this. What now seems like literally a decade ago was when you were here last to do Messiah. No, you came, weren't you here after that?
No, it was December.
Yeah, that to me feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew then what was around the corner, literally. Yeah. But that was a fun Messiah. All to say is that you had a major part in that, singing some of the arias that you were assigned. God, that was so exhilarating. And if you have the moment, go to YouTube and look up those performances of Messiah, because there are two there that feature Angela. One of them is the recit early on in part one, Thus saith the Lord. And then later on of note is Thou shalt break them, which is just like, talk about gas can. It's like gas can of a good sort. It's just flames off. And man, that was a lot of fun. It
was incredible. And I want to say thank you to you and to Michael for being open to some, reassignments in that particular Messiah. We had a little part juggling in that one. And so I think I sang one thing I sang is originally for soprano, and then a couple things were for tenor, and one thing was for bass, and then I was singing alto in the chorus. And so I just sort of round robin the whole thing. And it was honestly, that was probably the most fun I had singing a Messiah in recent memory. And just, it was a sound explosion.
I love that, and I love that. But this is a testament, and this is sort of like perhaps the takeaway is this: that the run that we've had with Messiah over the last few years, and where the fun that we have with it is a direct testament to what musicians are in that room at that given point. That I can make a hard left, I can make a hard right, we can stop on a dime, we can go on a dime. It is absolutely like I'm driving a Ferrari. And that when I get the sense that, you know what, I can just about do any number of naughty things, I have complete and utter trust in the musicians that are in front of me. And that has included you, Angela, for now quite some time, over 10 years almost.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, but I'm going to say that also speaks to, the caliber of artists that you are able to bring together, and all of us who enjoy and want to come back and work with you and Michael and the whole crew.
Right.
This is how many years has it been now with BCSD?
We started officially in 2003.
Yeah.
We wandered in the desert like the Israelites did from about 2003 and a half to about 2000 until you walked in the door for that Be My Mass. We were just sort of like, all right, what do we do next? And so
we've
there was
seen a great light, Ruben.
Yeah. He had seen a great light. Yeah. So, but yeah, these things sort of thankfully have worked out to some degree, I suppose. That remains, I guess, that's open to interpretation. But I thank you for your time today. And you can look up Angela Young-SMUCKER on the BCSD YouTube channel. There are a number of clips that featuring her beautiful work. And you can also look her up on Third Coast Baroque, different social media platforms, and you have a big event coming up this weekend, right? This Saturday?
Yeah. If you go to thirdcoastbaroque.org or find us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, we're going to be streaming live at 1 p.m. Central Time. So what is that? 11 a.m. Pacific Time. We've got an event. We'll run about 2 hours on Saturday live. So join us. We're going to try and catch your comments as they come in. But if you can't watch it live, it'll be available for replay for about 48 hours after the end of the broadcast. Yeah. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and in the spirit of cheesy AM radio, I wish I could say to you now for your time today, you get a gold watch or a piece of jewelry from Daniel's Jewelers.
I'll take a toaster.
You'll take a toaster? But anyway, Angela, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck this weekend with the event with Third Coast Baroque, and we'll chat another time.
Thanks so much, Ruben. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.